if you're ready to go, man, you ready to get in the AFC East?
Man, let's just jump right in, man. I'm
Let's
ready.
do it. I'm gonna put the AFC East standings. Here's what we got. Jets will win the division with an
Mm.
11-6 record, followed by the Miami Dolphins at 10-7. The Buffalo Bills, yes, the Buffalo Bills at third place at 9-8, and I got the New England Patriots. I don't really like anything about how their offseason went, really the last
Right.
few since Brady left, at 6-11. To the New York Jets first and foremost. Obviously, we know this probably the story of the offseason was the fact that they acquired Aaron Rodgers in a trade with the Green Bay Packers. They return arguably a top 5 defense in the NFL with Sauce Gardner leading that group, Quinnen Williams as well. Offensively, you have Garrett Wilson, who's making a case to be one of the 10 best receivers in the league, the offensive rookie of the year, coming out of last season. Robert Saleh, who's gotten better and better as a head coach in the NFL. My only concerns about the Jets revolve around the offensive line. I think that's going to be a problem for them throughout the season. Yeah. Whether or not that they can build some good time as a cohesive unit remains to be seen. But listen, I think there's a lot. This is a more flawed division, Ryan, than I think people give it credit for. But I think the Jets have the least amount of flaws, so I will give them the nod for the AFC East, followed by Miami. I actually thought about putting Buffalo over Miami, but I decided against it because of the fact the Dolphins have just too good of a roster. Regardless, again, we obviously assume Tua gives you, let's say, 12 to 13 games-ish. But if Tua is healthy, if Tua is ready to go for the majority of the season, this is an excellent coaching staff, excellent skill position group, and a defense that I think is going to be better with the addition of Vic Fangio. And obviously, they'll get Jalen Ramsey back by December. Buffalo at 9-8, I'm sure, is the big shock to people. Listen, we talk about teams, certainly great teams, that I don't know if everything aside from serious injury to any of the Bills' star players, everything that could have went wrong for the Bills this offseason did. They lost their defensive coordinator, who they weirdly fired, or he resigned. There was kind of an odd situation with Leslie Frazier leaving.
Stepped down.
He stepped down, and again, you got the issue with Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen. Is that going to be resolved? The offensive line is not better today than it was last year. The running game is non-existent. The wide receiving core, they did draft Dalton Kincaid out of Utah, who I really like, but he is, whether or not he can pan out to that remains to be seen. And the defense obviously doesn't have Von Miller week 1, so whenever he comes back, we'll see about that. And then New England, listen, they have arguably the most limited starting quarterback in the NFL, Mac Jones. Listen, the defense will be good. Defense will keep them in games, but simply put, the offense just simply isn't good enough. Certainly in the AFC, and I even argue if they were in the NFC, this would be the case to compete. So, Ryan, your thoughts on my predictions, and how do you see the AFC East stacking out?
The only thing I would probably change is the 1 and 2. I think that offensive line, man, that's going to be a problem for the Jets. And their first 5 games are against top 5, top 6 pass rushing defenses. So, will Aaron Rodgers survive that? Is going to be a very big question. Now, I can't argue the talent, right? They got Ferraris and Lamborghinis all over the field. You respectively had the offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year. They got stars all over the field. They added Dalvin Cook, but for me, that offensive line, man, as a coach and understanding how the trench works, you got to have dogs on the line of scrimmage. And right now, the Jets are very deficient in that area. And with an older, aging quarterback, that might be a recipe for a disaster. So I would only switch the Dolphins and put them at 1 and put the Jets maybe at 2. But the Bills are definitely they're on the decline. I think they had their window, and I think that window's gone because, like you said, Stephon Diggs is doing Stephon Diggs types of things, and they still do not have a running game to support Josh Allen. And so Josh Allen ends up being the de facto running back. So other than that, I would probably have the Dolphins at 1 and the Jets at 2. And the Patriots, they are where they are. Like no one takes much out of them.
100%, and I'm glad that you and I seem to agree on the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if I'm seeing a lot of media coverage around some of the contenders of the AFC, and everybody just, oh yeah, Buffalo's one of the top 4 teams in the league. I have a hard time seeing that, especially Josh Allen coming off of a really rocky season post Brian Dable. So can he bounce back? Sure, he's more than capable. He's one of the most talented players in the league, but that's a legitimate concern for Buffalo. We got some comments here. Our guy Barry, he's very excited to see you, Ryan. He says, "Look at my friend Ryan. He's happy to see you." We got the Darian Hopkins Sports Show. What's good, fellas? What's up, Darian? Very excited to have you and everybody else in the chat. Patrick Brown, our guy, he says, "I believe the Bills will regress. The defense lost Edmonds."
Yep.
Losing Leslie Frazier will be a huge subtraction for Buffalo. They could be a wild card, but that's all she wrote. 9-8 is accurate. And then our guy, Devin, My Thoughts, My Opinion podcast here at the Grid as well. He says he has Jets, Bills, Dolphins, Pats. Okay, so he's got Buffalo and Miami swapped. So he's not as high in Miami, I guess, as I am. Certainly
I like Miami. I like Miami. I like Miami. I mean, if Tua can stay healthy, which I get, that's a big if. I get it. Like the Jets and Dolphins have 2 big ifs.
Yep.
Like they really do. But I think Tua will be okay this year. I'm praying to God that he is. And if he is,
Absolutely.
man, like we saw the trajectory he was on, prior to those head injuries. They were playing some really good football, and then everything got derailed. So we'll see.
It's gonna be key for him for sure. And again, I think adding Vic Fangio as their defensive coordinator is gonna be very, very important.
Right.
If Tua's, forget even the injuries. I've criticized his inconsistency. If he's kind of having an up and down game, but their defense is kind of able to keep him in it for a long time, that's going to be
Yep.
key for him in terms of, making the playoffs. And obviously in this case, they're more than capable of winning the AFC East. But I've decided to go with, I've had a love-hate relationship with the Jets, but I decided to grit my teeth and say, you know what, I'll take the Jets to win the AFC East.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.